Okay, welcome to Na'aleh Land. We begin Parshat Beha'alotcha. This year's Ilui Nishmas Rachaleh Bas Chaim Tzvi Aleh Shalom. Once again, Baruch Hashem, we're back to having stories in our Parsha, which is our mandate. So we'll tell there's many aspects in our Parsha which are story-like, and we want to get the story behind it. Aspects, there's so many concepts in our Parsha which we'll be happy to elaborate. We begin with just one passage we'll read inside, and then the rest will... Well, you'll trust me when I tell you outside. And that's the beginning of our parsha, is the lighting of the menorah. Beha'alotcha means when you kindle the lamps. So it says like this: God spoke to Moshe saying, "Go tell Aaron and tell him the following. When you kindle the lamps towards the face of the menorah, shall the 7 lamps cast light." And Aaron did so toward the face of the menorah. He kindled its lamps as God had commanded Moshe. So all the commentators discuss why this passage of the menorah comes directly after the long recitation in our earlier parsha, which we spoke about last week, of the gifts of the princes. So Rashi quotes the Tanchuma, which says that Aaron was chagrined. Every single tribe was represented by its leader, and everyone had a role in dedicating the new tabernacle. However, he and the tribe of Levi were excluded. So God said, don't worry, even though you feel you were disenfranchised, not the case. Your portion is greater than theirs. Why is that? Because you're comforted to know that your service is greater because you're going to be preparing the menorah. Giving this light will be giving light to the Jewish people. It's a very important thing what you're doing. Your portion is greater than theirs. Some say this even refers to Hanukkah. This candle, lighting these bright lights, this is the portion for the future. Your portion is greater than theirs. We have in our parsha the story of the man. The man is, in English, manna, the miraculous food which came down from heaven. Now, the story of the man is unusual insofar as, first of all, it was a miracle, and it came on a daily basis. People had to go out to gather it. The greater a tzaddik you were, the more righteous you were, the more pious you were, the less you had to trouble yourself to get it. The really pious, it came to the doorsteps. The ones that weren't so pious, they had to go all the way out to Saudi Arabia, far, far away, and gather their man. Now, there are many lessons in the man. Now, first of all, fundamental question: why is it, pray tell, that the man came on a daily basis? Why didn't God say, or God instructed, and come on a bi-weekly basis, or triannually? Why make a miracle every single day when you can do it once a month, once a week, once every other week? Why is that? So there's an interesting interpretation here, which is God wanted man to pray for his bread. You have to realize, because you can become so quickly inured to it, you think you get it. It just comes every day, and even though it's a miracle, comes down, and this manna had very unusual consistency, whereby whatever you would think of, that's the flavor it was. You wanted a hamburger, you wanted oatmeal cereal, whatever you wanted, that's what it tasted like. Remarkable. But after a while, you think that's also, not a big deal. And people forget to be appreciative. So much so that what was the blessing they made in the midbar? In the wilderness, when they received the man, the blessing was Hamotzi Lechem Min HaShamayim. God had brought forth bread from the heavens. And then they came to Israel and said, whoa, what a miracle! Bread coming out of the ground. Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Wow, what a miracle. When it was coming raining down from heaven, they said, conventional standard operating procedure. To come to Israel, you have to sow and thresh and plow the field. What a miracle out of the ground. What a miracle. Okay, so this is a good point for us to mention, that this is the key to happiness is appreciation and gratitude. And that's the great blessing we have with blessings. Because blessings are the barbells that keep us in shape. By reciting a blessing each and every day, if you pay attention, that's the key. If you pay attention now, you make 100 blessings a day. And that's a very tall order to ask someone to pay attention for 100, but that's what we're supposed to do. But even just 1, or 3, or 5, or a couple, that would make you a more appreciative person, and automatically a more grateful person, and a more happier person. For there is a delicious inverse relationship between expectations and gratitude. The more you appreciate, between expectations and gratitude, the less you expect, the more grateful you'll be, and the more you expect, the less grateful you'll be. That's the rule. Hence, a blessing means I don't just throw the food in my mouth, but I'm thinking about it, I'm grateful for it. Preferably when you hold bread and you make a blessing, you should have all 10 fingers holding it. Why? To remind you, there are 10 labors. There's tilling, there's threshing, there's winnowing. 10 labors go into it. It doesn't come off the shelf in the supermarket. There's a lot to be in here, a lot to be grateful for. We have our bread. The more you expect, the less grateful you'll be, and the less you expect, the more grateful you'll be. And that's why blessings are so important. I tell the story that I was once flying to America, and on my flight, I live in Israel, I learned the Mir Yeshiva. On my flight were two of the great rabbis of the Mir Yeshiva, Rabbi Aryeh Finkel, and who we called the Tzaddik of the Mir. Today he's a Rosh Yeshiva in Brachfeld, a branch of the Mir Yeshiva in Kiryat Sefer, and Rabbi Aaron Chadash, the Mashgiach HaYeshiva. When these two mega gedolim, these two great scholars, learned that I was on their flight, they asked me if I would sit next to them. Because, fortunately, I'm a seasoned traveler. Fortunately, they are not. Or I don't know if it's fortunate one way or the other, but I'm a seasoned traveler, they are not. And they figured if I could sit next to them, I would be able to help them on the flight. That would have been my greatest pleasure, however. My policy is whenever I travel, I prefer to sit next to someone who is not yet religious. I thought about what I'm doing in life, most people have not. So a person sitting next to me for 11 hours, that's a chance to impact upon them. And on many occasions, my neighbors I had over for Shabbos,